Alright guys, now let's talk about horizontal elbows as well as side horizontal elbows. So I feel like those two go together. The reason is anytime you throw your horizontal elbow and if you miss, maybe your opponent defended by leaning back, you're loaded. Instead of thinking this is a missed opportunity and I have to recover back to my guard, anytime I throw a horizontal elbow, I'm loaded for the side elbow to follow through. Same goes about my other side. I miss it because maybe he leaned his head back, I can step through and side elbow him. Sometimes that's actually, you'll see it in elbow tactics, this is going to be our setup. I'll miss on purpose as he shells up, that gives me an opportunity to land my side elbow. Which the side elbow could be used to damage, side elbow could be used in conjunction with your legs to take him down or to off-balance him for a bigger score for another follow-up technique. So if I just demonstrate solo first, the side elbow, the lateral horizontal elbow, is I'm going to turn my body, shift my weight to the posterior leg, to the rear leg, and then snap that elbow. As I'm doing so and following through my target, my other hand comes up and protects my head and my temple against his counter elbow. So normally my guard is kind of parallel to each other. The forearms are parallel, maybe slightly out. I'm going to take a step forward, although sometimes there are elbows when we step to the side, you'll see that, but just for basic form, okay, I can just rotate my body weight back, rotating through the hips, and then snap the elbow out. Again, just like in a straight elbow section, important part of power generation is not just the rotation of the hips, but the snap of the rotator cuff. Another very important part of the power generation is the slingshot of your lateral chain of your obliques. What I don't want to do, if you imagine me hitting like a baseball bat, right? So like swinging through with a baseball bat. What I don't want to do, if you imagine a ball flying over, right? And I'm hitting with a baseball, if I turn as one, it's going to be a dull strike, the ball is not going to fly too far away. But if I turn my hips first, the lateral oblique chain gets almost like a slingshot, gets some tension, and then I sling the bat out, you'll see the ball flying far away and me developing good impact. With that in mind, if I just use Brendan real quick and I just use your chest, and I'll use my right elbow just to push. So what I don't want to do is I want to turn at once. I don't want to turn at once. This is gonna maybe look like an elbow to somebody uneducated, but there is no good impact. What I want to do is I want to turn my hips through first, and then the elbow goes in last. The elbow is the last thing that leaves. In this way, there's tension develops in the sling-like structures on the side, and then it gets released and the elbow slams out. The very last of the power generation, very last portion of it, is the rotator cuff snap. So I lengthen my shoulder out, and I loosen it, and I let it sling out. And so the elbow lands now with a nice little smack behind. So with that in mind, my left elbow, notice again, hips, and then the elbow. As if I miss it or I miss on purpose, I can step in now and land the side elbow right here and then recover to the guard. If I'm throwing the right horizontal elbow, same idea. I rotate through, sling, release the elbow, cover myself. Big mistake is to turn my head on the elbow. See this gap? My opponent will see this gap too, so my jaw is exposed. So even though my torso is turning, my head stays straight on. So my head might shift over my right leg, or my head might shift over my left leg, but the orientation of my jaw and my nose and my eyes is towards my opponent as I'm doing this. So with the right elbow, if I missed either on purpose or by action of my opponent, I'm in a position now to step through and to land the side elbow, making sure that my arm stays up. So if I demonstrate it with Brendan, first the left elbow, boom, right here. So this is the position. Notice that also another big part of my power generation is me getting slightly wider. If I walk around wide all the time, it's pretty uncomfortable, and obviously I'm open in a lot of areas for his strikes, right? But I'm in a normal stance, somewhat wide, somewhat narrow, so good enough to move fast and to produce quick, powerful movements, powerful combinations. But when I produce lateral impact, either with a hook or with an elbow, for a split second, I get a little wider, just to be more stable laterally, so I can hit him harder. It also opens up my hips for follow-up from that side. I'm a lot more powerful on that side now. So with that in mind, as I'm here facing Brendan, okay, boom, stepping in, snapping that elbow out, and now I'm ready for follow-up. If I would miss him, maybe he leans back a little bit, and I miss him. Here's the step, and landing my elbow on him on the side. Notice this arm is still up. At this point I can follow through with a sweep, and then maybe follow up with another elbow or something like this. With the right elbow, it's the same thing. Okay, the difference is I step in with my lead leg, and then step in a little bit with my right leg rotating, boom, throwing it over. Horizontally, right along the ground. My hand is up, my head is in the center, so I'm covering myself, and this is the body position. If he leans back slightly, maybe I miss him as he leans back slightly. If I just throw my side elbow from here, there is no weight here, there is no support here, and I might fall into some sort of a counter attack and be countered. So what I'm looking to do is I'm looking to step through. Okay, let's say he leans back. Now I step through, and I can land this elbow with good impact behind it, and then follow up with some other tool from here. So if we switch sides, again, pay attention to my footwork and the width of the feet, which brings us also to the topic of the range. I don't want to throw my elbows from out of range. This is more of a kicking range. This is like a punching range, right? In order for me to throw my elbows, if I start it from too far, I'll miss, all right, and I'm gonna get countered. So, generally speaking, your elbow range is, the way I think about it, is when I can touch my opponents with my bent arm, with my bent arms, that's my elbow range. So that's the general guideline that I use for myself to basically identify if I'm an elbow range or not. So as I can touch him with bent arms, and just use the tight guard for now. I can touch him with my bent arms, I can step in and land that elbow. One more point to think about, even though I'm throwing a horizontal elbow, the point of my impact could be different. I don't necessarily, if you just lower your right arm for a second, Brandon. Yeah, I don't necessarily have to land it always on the side of his head, of his jaw, or his cheekbone, or his nose, something like this. When he guards up, let's say he's in a tight guard for explanation purposes, what I can do with my lateral elbow is I can hit and pivot off his guard and land it right on that point on the jaw. So it's one point that I would like to bring to your attention. Second point, even though it's a lateral elbow, maybe by way of footwork or maneuvering myself, maybe I'm here, I can tight guard, please. As I throw this elbow, this can still go in between his guard and go slightly forward and still burst through and still create damage. So don't think of a lateral elbow as just a blunt weapon that just comes this way indiscriminately, and that's the only thing it can do. Again, it can pivot around and hit that way. It can also hit right in between his guard and create damage that way. So the lateral elbow is just the direction of the travel. But the point of impact and my targeting could be different depending on the type of opening that I see. So with that in mind, one more time, we're here. I can touch him with bent arms. That's the elbow range. Boom, here's my elbow. Here's the other elbow. If he leans back and I miss, or maybe I set him up. Maybe I know he likes to lean back, so I make it look like I'm missing my elbow. Here it is as I come through. Right now, for a little bit of safety, because I'm not wearing elbow pads, I'm connecting with Brendan, and that's a good thing to do in training with your training partners, with the meaty part of my lower triceps, which is obviously keeps both of us a little bit on the safer side, so I don't split, his face, and we'll have to put stitches. But reality is just gentle, please. Don't cover up as much. Okay. As I'm coming through with the side elbow, I'm looking to hit him with the tip of the elbow, not with the meaty part. That's where the most of the impact and the most of the damage, I'm gonna create the most damage that way. Same thing goes about the right. If he leans back, I miss him, I step through, and here's my elbow coming through with the bone as this hand is up. Okay, maybe he bounces back from that impact. I'm in a position now to follow up with other tools from here. So this is your lateral, this is your horizontal elbows and your side elbows. Horizontal elbows and your side horizontal elbows.